Welcome back to our Chelsea striker video. We did a centre-back video of this last week, so if you missed that, do go and check that out. But in today's video, we are basically going to be going over a few striker options that people have heard of and the ones that are sort of in the media being fleshed out already. A few sort of that come up really nicely on the stats in similar metrics that Chelsea will be looking at currently. And then we're just going to throw a few other names out there as well. So we've got five main targets that we're going to speak about in this video and sort of analyse. To get it out of the way, we're going to start off with this intro being about the two victors who are both extremely unlikely, and that's why they're not technically on my sort of five list, which is Victor Osimhen. So if you want any more detail about Osimhen, there is a whole video about why I think he's the perfect striker for Chelsea on my channel. So if you want that, go find that in a separate video, I'd say, because I still believe he's the perfect profile in terms of what we're looking for in terms of causing chaos and box threat. However, again, very unlikely. We move on to Victor Gyökeres, and we'll also even throw Alexander Isak into this because I want to just mention him too. Both, in their own right, exceptional footballers, some of the best centre forwards in the world. Having said that, I have said for a while that I think Jackson can become similar types to these guys. They run the channels well. They have better ball striking than Jackson, and this is the difference. They do a lot of the same things as Jackson, Gyökeres and Isak, but the difference being is they're a little bit better in the box. They're more composed. They manipulate themselves better in the box, and they score more goals because of it in terms of their output, which is why they're brilliant. But if you're going to sign one of those strikers, I think what it ends up leading to is Jackson just not being in the plans. I think if you're going to sign Isak, for example, then Jackson isn't really part of the team, and he gets moved on to the point where you have Isak and then you go and get another striker as well, or like you wait for someone like Guiu or someone different, because I think you want two profiles that contrast enough. Whereas I think Isak and Jackson are very similar. And I think that could lead to someone like Jackson just being very frustrated. Anyway, that's that out of the way, and they'd be very expensive. So they're the ones that are less likely. So we're going to park them for now. And we're going to move on to Liam Delap to begin with, because again, he's the guy at the minute, isn't he, that everybody's talking about. Liam Delap, playing for Ipswich, 21 years old, around 6'1", and has played in the Manchester City Academy. So he's played with the likes of Parma, knows Maresca well, has those links with Joe Shields, etc. He has played 21 times this season, scoring 8 goals, 2 assists, and he's totaled 1,553 minutes. In that time, he's had 0.48 goals per 90 with 0.39 XG generated per 90. He has 1.88 progressive carries per 90, which is the highest of any player on this list. So keep that in account. He can carry the ball well, and that's something that he's done at Ipswich so well, using his physicality, pretty much pinning 2 or 3 defenders at once when he's the target man. He's an outlet for them on his own, and he's managing to pin a defender, or like I say, multiple at once, before then carrying the team forward on his own. Now, yes, Jackson's progressive carries are exceptionally good as well, so that might not be something you're looking for, but it's more so the aspect of how he's doing it as a one-man band. A lot of people call him a battering ram in that sense. So that's something to take into account. He takes 1.94 shots per 90, has a 0.19 goals to shot ratio, which is quite good, and then has a plus 0.11 goals per XG, or goals minus XG per 90 as well. 3.13 penalty area touches per 90. That is very low, but it is playing for Ipswich. Like I say, a lot of his work is outside the box because of that. And that's why when it comes to someone like Delap, you're actually scouting more his mannerisms, his quality, and his sort of his attributes to be able to do things, because you don't get to see as much of his box work at Ipswich. Still wins 1.94 aerials per 90, which is 48.4% of his aerial duels. Now, Delap is powerful. His ball striking is immense, and he can do a lot of the things that Jackson can do in terms of running the channel and spinning his man and, like I say, holding people off. But the main thing that makes him a key target that you think you could more of a box threat as well is just that initiating contact and that bully nature about him. Realistically, a lot of people, he's a shithouse, and he will dig into players. He will initiate that contact himself, throw a leg out in front of somebody, use his shoulders, use an elbow, and he is clever in that way. A lot of people compare him to Diego Costa. He's got so many aspects to his game. And I think when you get to see a lot more of his box work, because you know how much of a bully he is and how much he's willing to throw his body around in order to initiate the contact first, offset a defender, put them off balance, and then attack the ball, which he is good at doing, whether that's on the floor or in the air. I think that's a big reason as to why he would be a key target. Next, we're going to move on to Benjamin Sesko. So 0.17 goals per 90, 0.38 XG generated per 90, 1.85 progressive carries per 90, so slightly less than that of Deap, 2.92 shots per 90, with 0.20 goals to shot ratio, with a plus 0.21 goals minus XG, and 3.27 penalty area touches per 90, again, quite close to those lower numbers of Deap. Winning at 2.62 aerials per 90 with 54.3% of them. Now, he's played 25 games this season, scored 13 goals, 3 assists, has 1,768 minutes played. Again, with him, what you're talking about, he's got a special range of flexibility, Sesko. Very Zlatan-esque in that sense. He'll drag balls down that you don't think he's going to get on. He has like a bit like Haaland as well, in the sense that he will, because of that range of flexibility, he'll attack a ball in a way that you wouldn't expect. It's a little bit more unorthodox, but it will work. And he'll get on the end of things and he'll score spectacular goals. He also has excellent ball striking. Just like with Deap, they have that ability to just absolutely smash one, and just the power, but also the precision on their strikes is superb. Now, with Sesko, slightly less so. Doesn't look like he's fully built into his body yet, in the sense of he's 6'5". I didn't go over that. He's 21 years old and he's 6'5". So he's got that natural height and that natural physical sort of build, but he doesn't, a bit not like Deap, he doesn't throw his body into players to offset them first. He's a bit more wiry in that sense. He wants to evade and find his way onto a cross, rather than being able to use that sort of presence that he has a little bit better. But again, with age, I think that could come more and more, because he'll realise how physically imposing he can be on a game. So that's something to pay attention to with Benjamin Sesko. Next up, probably my favourite in terms of offering a complete something new. So like I said at the start, Osman was my number one in the summer. That was no secret. And he offers something completely different to Jackson, so they can coexist, offering different game plans and different attributes on and off the bench, and they bring something different to the game to completely switch up a momentum. And that is Samu Aahoa, which Samu Amarodian, as many of you will know him. 20 years old, 6'4". Playing for Porto this season, he scored 1.03 goals per 90, has 0.56 XG generated per 90, the highest XG generated that we've seen so far, which is a big sign, because he's creating those chances, mining that XG for himself. 0.88 progressive carries per 90. He's not getting involved in that side of the game. 2.74 shots per 90. 0.38 goals to shot ratio, which is again the highest, and he's also overachieving his XG by 0.5 per 90, which again the highest so of any of the strikers that we're going to talk about. 5.76 penalty area touches, quite a few more than the other two, like averaging at least 2 more per game. 1.88 aerial 1 per 90, which isn't actually as good when you consider his physicality, which is 49.2% of his aerials 1, which is lower. It's slightly higher than Deap, but lower than Sesko. But what he is a physical specimen, and even if he's not winning those challenges, he's having 2 or 3 players basically have to crowd him out. And this is the argument I had with Osman, is even if they're not winning them, they're doing their job by literally forcing players to give them that much coverage, because they're scared of that physical prowess, that physical specimen that he is. He has ridiculous box instincts, his ability to arrive in the right place at the right time, little clever movements, little micro movements and runs, really, really good. Top end. 23 appearances, 18 goals, 2 assists in 1,765 minutes. Again, for me, I think he makes a lot of sense. He would have in the summer, said it at the time then as well. The biggest problem is now, how much can you get him out for? Is he still interested in a move to Chelsea? All these things, there's other factors, but I do think him and Jackson could genuinely be a ridiculous two. Moving on to John Duran, basically being quoted 100 million now for him, so very unlikely from what Aston Villa are saying. 21 years old, 6'1". Again, similar he's a chaos striker. So he's very much like Osman in the sense of his box chaos and how he'll get around, really sort of just put it to defenders. Again, bit of a menace, really. So far this season, 26 appearances, 12 goals, no assists, but only 976 minutes played. His ball striking, again, ridiculously good, just like Benjamin Sesko and Deap, just venomous and so elite at that. Scoring 1.09 goals per 90 this season, the highest of all the strikers that we spoke about. 0.62 XG generated per 90, again, very, very good. The second highest on this list, I think. 1.11 progressive carries per 90. He gets somewhat involved in that side of the game, but again, he's more interested in being that box presence and looking to just cause chaos in one way or another. 4.82 shots per 90, 0.21 goals to shot ratio, overachieving his XG by 0.49 per game or per 90. 6.67 penalty area touches per 90, the highest so far. 3.11 aerials won, which is 54.9%. And again, it's just this chaos striker type that is so good. But I just do think the market for him is just gone now. I think it was there in the summer to be sort of attacked, and I think now it's almost at a point where he's going to cost too much, and the risk is still there enough that it's not worth taking a risk that large. In the summer at 50 million or at 40 million, the risk was probably worth taking. Now it isn't. So that's sort of how I assess that one. Top striker. A lot of those metrics as well. He has the least minutes so far, and some of them have been from the bench. He has got some starts in more recent weeks, but some of those stats can be askew because of that. Now, my last one, this was one I mentioned in the summer, and I don't know how people are going to feel about this one, but Tiano Barry for Villarreal, 6'5", 22-year-old. I said about him in the summer as sort of an alternative to all these other big names. Again, in the summer, I said Samu and Duran were brilliant moves at the price they were. This is sort of what I think Barry could be come this summer. A £40 million sort of gamble, 30 to £40 million gamble. Scoring 0.74 this season, 0.63 XG generated per 90, which is the highest of anyone on this list. And when we're talking about a chaos striker in the box, that's exactly what he's doing. He's causing chaos and he's finding XG in the box with his frame and just that overall ability, overarching gravity that he's bringing. 1.53 progressive carries per 90. He actually has that to his game as well. Really deceptively good on the ball for a 6'5" player, like a bit like Barry for his height. 3.8 shots per 90, 0.16 goals to shot ratio. That's the one thing. He's underachieving his XG by 0.06. Now, his XG is really high, so that's sort of negates it slightly. But he is still raw, considering he's actually the oldest on this list, which is crazy at 22 years old. He came from Basel literally in the summer. He is raw in the sense that his finishing still sometimes lacks. He can finish can squander some chances. 4.92 penalty area touches, 4.19 aerials won per 90, 66.7% of his aerial duels that he wins. Just perfect. Exactly why he's flashing up on a lot of. That's exactly why he sort of flashed up on my radar to begin with, and then when you dive deeper. Then you've got, so his stats this season, 18 appearances since he joined. So this is just for the La Liga, taking away his Super League Basel stats before he joined. 18 appearances, 7 goals, 2 assists, 1,204 minutes played. Like I say, 6'5", good technical capacity, causes chaos around him, brilliant aerial numbers. I do think he's raw. I think he's probably the most raw on this list, despite being the oldest, which, like I say, but he is another name that was on my radar in the summer at Basel, and he's now even further on my radar now, and he's proving it in La Liga. So I do think he's come the summer, he could be that one of those next names that proves to be a Samu or a Duran type deal. Evan Ferguson, he's got injured again. He's injury prone. It's not going to happen. But I wanted to put him on the list because I do still think he's the profile, a bit like Deap in the sense of, I do think eventually, if he can stay fit, someone's going to pick him up and take the risk. It just depends how long it takes. But he's injury prone and it's an opportunistic signing. So I think the lower his value goes, the more likely the club is to take that risk. But it's just one of those ones that it's not worth doing now. Strand Larson, again, only want to mention him because, not even saying for Chelsea to sign him, but I just wanted to mention him because he really nicely on the underlying data when you're looking for this type of striker. So I thought, because he's coming up on a lot of the plots that I'm sort of working on when I'm looking at these types of strikers, I wanted to mention him in the video. From Monaco, one of my absolute favourites, another one that is just going to be an absolute star, is George Ilakina from Monaco. So good. Again, just really good in the underlying metrics for this type of striker. Has it all. 19 years old. Superstar. Stefanos Simaz, he from Nuremberg. He's another one that's coming up on a lot of people's plots. and he's doing well. So I do think he's going to get a big move soon, whether it's to the Prem or he makes a stepping stone move first, who knows. The other two I wanted to mention are the two Getafe strikers. Now, Christiantus Uche, he's one that has come up on Chelsea so far. And again, he's got really good aerial numbers. Physical profile, when you look at him, he has that profile that you could, because he's got good technical ability with a sort of that raw physical build that you want to, if you can build on a technical quality that already has the physical build there, then that's a good sign. So I think that's why he's popped up more so than the other striker that comes up really nicely in data and plots with him nicely is the other Getafe striker, Berta Gilderim, who again, his underlying data plots them pretty much together. Now I think these two that I just mentioned, I think that's largely to do with how Getafe play. They are very direct into those two forwards, looking to get those knockdowns. So their aerial duel numbers naturally rise, which is why I think when you've then gone to look at them, Uche's been the one that sort of stood out and maybe been seen as an option because you can then see his physical profile and you start scouting him based on that more so than the actual numbers. So worth noting them two as well, mainly Uche, because again, he's been mentioned before. But the five that we've mentioned earlier, they're the ones that I sort of want to sort of be the underlying factor of this video. And are the types of names that I think will allow the likes of Cole Palmer, Pedro Neto, those creators, to put in crosses like this more often, not only against low blocks, even against other opposition, but really open up and use Chelsea's box threat with another striker to relieve the burden from Nicholas Jackson. Let me know your favourite choice of all these strikers in the comments down below, and I will maybe do a in-detail video solely on one striker. I have one on my channel already for Victor Osimhen and one for Samu Omarodian, so if you want to check those out, please do. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.